Now, we just went through an exercise to see what it felt like to see $1 million be reduced. That $1 million is not part of the 4.3. This is on top of that. So we're really looking at an overall deficit to a challenge of over $5 million. Okay. The first one that we're going to expect is the fact that the reduction that we get from the state of California will come in a workload reduction. Workload reduction means that we have fewer dollars to pay for student enrollment. So our cap will change. So right now our funded cap is around $9,350. We've developed a target that I just approved of $8,500. That is a decline of 850 FTES, which is approximately 300 sections of classes. That's spread over the year. Okay. That impact, of course, comes on the backs of part-time faculty, because we will have fewer classes, we hire fewer faculty, and that'll come in the part-time ranks. The estimate of salaries and employer costs is around $643,000, but we have to also remember that we will have some savings because unfortunately, there will be part-time faculty who will lose benefits, who are now teaching with a load of 50% or more. Very likely will have either no load or a load that could be less than 50%. So there will be some also residual benefits from the medical insurance. We estimate this will impact about 1,000 students. We could see us serving about 1,000 fewer students because of less capacity that we will have to offer the public. So that comes off the top. So if you're doing your subtraction, it's down to what? 3.6? 5? Yeah, thank you. Okay. In the President's Cluster, operational costs, we're getting down. I don't have a lot of money in my account anyway, but the areas that I'm looking at are, again, I still had some money in for contracts and miscellaneous expense. Most of this is really spent on other areas that need support for their areas. We have one more national membership that the board belongs to. We eliminated one last year at a cost of about $6,000 a year. Another one is the American Community College Trustees Association. This is really on the Board of Trustees account. I can play with their account a lot easier than my account. But it's about $5,500. And we feel that we have many statewide obligations. Our fee alone for the Accreditation Commission next year is over $18,000. And by 2 years from now, it'll be up over $20,000. So those are mandated costs, just as there are mandated costs that belong to the League of California, the Statewide Academic Senate, the Commission on Athletics for the state. These are dues and memberships that we have to belong to in order to participate. So there's not much left in there. We have one big account in the board's budget, and that's $185,000 for elections. This year, they only spent $145,000 for elections because there were only 2 seats and only one was contested. Next year, there are no seats up. So we have $185,000 sitting there. But I can't take it out because the following year we have 3 seats, and it could cost us $200+ thousand. So it's one of those. It can be used as one-time only money on that off year, but we can't build it into a structural or a change in that manner. In personnel layoffs and reductions, I will be freezing a position in the confidential area, which will be a reduction of $28,000 for a total of $47,000. Administrative services, operational expenses, over $400,000 in operational expenses. And look where they come from. Energy savings. And we are doing a better job. We're going to have some increase in costs in the North County when we bring on a new building halfway through the year, but we also have been working really hard, and Terry Reese and his crew have been amazing in terms of their ability to keep us moving in a green direction so that we can continue to conserve and resources. About $140,000 in there that we anticipate that we can save. Things that all of us need, you know, the work on our buildings, new equipment, paying for capital improvements, repairs, that's got to be reduced. So don't expect the same or the frequency of help. We've been leasing the military's gymnasium, which we call, for those of you who have been around here for a long time, called the old gym. And if you look at our gym, it looks like an old gym now, but there really is an old gym. Okay, now we've had the luxury of renting that in order to support our intercollegiate wrestling program, because it helps with the scheduling of the gymnasium, especially when you got to roll out mats and roll up and so on. Well, that's been costing us $25,000 a year. We're not going to pay that anymore. So wrestling will have to move back into, and Bob Mariucci and Walt Rim and Deb Wolf will have to work really hard to accommodate the scheduling of those particular programs. In the area of personnel, layoffs and reductions, $59,000. This will come in another freeze and another position reduction for almost $500,000 in administrative services. In academic affairs and operational expenses, one of the things that we're going to be doing with the shift of academic support, we are going to be pooling resources and consolidating all of our tutorial and support services into a single location. So the writing center, the math labs, and math tutorial will all be housed in the high-tech building. They'll be under the direct supervision of Mary Hastings, our supervisor of tutorial services. At the North County, we'll be moving, when we open the LRC, the services will be provided in the LRC building and in one location and seen there. So we will be consolidating not only personnel and resources, but also eliminating some of the duplication of resources. In terms of personnel layoffs and reductions, $350,000. These are in faculty and classified. Faculty, I suspended 3 recruitments for full-time faculty replacements. Those positions were in economics, philosophy, and chemistry. These were dependent upon the economics of where we were based on what we anticipated back in January of the May revise, but there is no more May revise. It's already been revised. And we know more now, and we know we can't move forward. Every full-time position which comes from a conversion of part-time to full-time costs about $30,000 for that conversion. So in there is about $90,000, which we will not have to address that. We are moving ahead with the other 6 positions, 2 of which I've already recommended to the board, the others in the recruitment process right now. And a total reduction of $364,000. And in student services, operational expenses, we have areas in admissions and records, again reducing in the printing area of supplies, travel, financial aid, direct expenses, reduction in counseling and transfer center, operational costs, and in the personnel area, faculty and classified. Again, faculty are part-time non-teaching faculty, providing services either in library or in counseling services, and in classified service for a total of $176,000. That's $1 million. Again, the split is about 55-45, but it's 55% in personnel and 45% in operational cost. The distribution, again, is borne primarily by administrative services, but also academic affairs also contributed 34%. When you look at the total budget, academic affairs has about 57% of our entire budget. And this gets us to a point of closing the gap. So now if you've been paying attention and doing the math, okay, where are we? So we were at around 3.6 million, weren't we? And then now another million is about $2.6 million. That's our gap. That's our gap in order to be able to address the 9.1%. So how are we going to get there? Well, the Planning and Budget Committee has authorized or recommended to me if we use contingency money not to exceed the 1/3, which is about $1.2 million. So if you apply $1.2 million to the 2.6, it brings us down to about 1.4. Okay? So we're at a point now where I can go back in and take another exercise of that 9.1% to get another $1 million. Yeah. Or we have to find another way. I can go back to planning a budget and say, you know what? We need another $1.2 million. But I'm not ready to do that yet. Some of you have been saying about, well, when, am I going to get a budget? Am I going to get a salary decrease? You're going to cut salaries. Are we going to do a furlough program? And what does it mean? Well, I can't say that because those conversations with two of our employee groups are negotiable. Okay? I also know that for all of you sitting out there, there is some concern that if my group's not going to step forward unless somebody else steps forward. So there's some concern about unanimity and uniformity and everybody participating in any kind of an effort that would be promotable by your organizations to do that. I can't mandate that. I have some control over the management and confidential employees. I can mandate that. Okay. I can't mandate it at home. My wife does that. But you can see where we are. You can see what we're faced with and how we get pushed up against the wall when we get down to this. We've already now taken over $2 million out of the budget, but we're not even halfway there. You see? That's the challenge.